the just crisis and the psychology of trauma.
Instead of you to protect us against them, you are giving them amnesty.
Just murdered over 10 people.
Yeah.
Innocent Christians.
Yeah.
On Palm Sunday.
Yeah.
Tinubu, where are you?
These are people that have pursued people from their generational homes.
When violence breaks the mind. Today, we are not just talking about violence, we are talking about what violence does to the human mind. Recently, in Jos, Plateau State, Nigeria, a devastating attack left dozens dead and many injured as government storms communities in the night, spreading fear and chaos. A curfew was imposed, survivors were hospitalized, and tension still linger in the city. But beyond the headlines, there is something deeper. What happens psychologically when a community is repeatedly exposed to violence? These attacks are not just isolated events. They form a cycle of violence, re-attack, and over time, this cycle conditions the human mind. Immediately after such attacks, survivors and witnesses often experience acute stress reaction. Most of the common symptoms that are seen are shock and emotional numbness, hypervigilance, every sound feels like danger.
Is this the government we vote for? This is Plateau State, Jos.
Sleep disturbance and nightmares, intrusive backlash of gunshots, blood, screams, survivor's guilt. Why did I live? Clinically, this is the nervous system in survivor's mode. The brain, especially the amygdala, becomes overreactive. The body is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. The person is no longer living, they are just trying to survive reality. When trauma persists or is repeated, as seen in Jos, many individuals developed PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. And some of the core feature that they experience is they experiencing the traumatic experience in their mind, through flashbacks, nightmare, and they begin to have avoidance. They avoid avoiding places, people, or conversation. They have negative mood changes, emotional numbness, loss of hope, and they begin to experience hyper-arousal. They get easily startled, irritability, and aggression. This is critical. In a region like Plateau, trauma is not a single event. It is chronic trauma. And chronic trauma requires identity. This is where it gets deeper. The just crisis is not just individual trauma. It is a collective trauma. Effect of this collective trauma on the society, on the community, it leads to normalization of violence. This is how life is. Intergroup suspicion, tied to religion mistrust, breakdown of social cohesion. There will be no unity and generational trauma transmission. Children growing up in such environments may develop aggression as a defense mechanism, internalize fear as a worldview. Trauma becomes cultural memory. This is called existential trauma. It can lead to loss of faith, anger at God, spiritual confusion, or deeper spiritual awakening. One dangerous outcome of repeated violence is trauma-driven aggression. People don't just become afraid, they can become revenge-oriented. This is because trauma activates the fight response, fear into hostility towards the other. Healing is very, very important. Healing must happen in 3 levels. At individual level, trauma-focused CBT. The individual need to meet psychologists or other therapists so that they can be healed as individual. Then as community, peace dialogue must be embraced. Violence is not just physical, it is psychological warfare. The goal is not only to kill bodies, but to break mind, divide communities, and plant fear as a permanent identity. The just crisis is a reminder that behind every statistic is a mind trying to make sense of chaos, a child trying to split through fear, a community trying to trust again. Healing is possible, but it requires awareness, intervention, and compassion. Thank you very much. This podcast is brought to you by Stethoscopes and Sacrifices.